The studio buzzed with energy that afternoon as the Kelly Clarkson Show prepared to welcome country icon Keith Urban. Fans filled every seat, clutching cue cards that read, "Applause," and "Cheer," though they hardly needed them. The air shimmered with anticipation. Two beloved stars, both charming, outspoken, and musically gifted, were about to share the stage. Kelly appeared first, radiant and full of her usual warmth, waving to the audience as the band played her hit, "Stronger." "Y'all, today is a big one," she said, beaming into the camera. "He's one of my favorite musicians and a downright legend, give it up for Keith Urban." Keith walked out to roaring cheers, guitar slung casually over his shoulder. He flashed that easy, confident smile as he hugged Kelly. "Hey, Kel," he said in his smooth Aussie accent, "thanks for having me." "Oh, my pleasure," Kelly said brightly. "It's been too long." The interview began lightheartedly. They talked about his world tour, his family with Nicole Kidman, and the evolution of country music. The crowd laughed and applauded as the two swapped stories about recording sessions, performing live, and the odd mishaps of show business. Kelly joked about once forgetting lyrics mid-song, and Keith admitted to accidentally breaking a guitar string during a live award show performance. But then came the shift, small, subtle, but noticeable. Kelly, known for her playful teasing, leaned in with a grin and said, "So Keith, your new single's been killing it on the charts. But I gotta say, people online are saying it sounds a lot like something I might have written during my breakaway era." The audience laughed, expecting Keith to do the same. Instead, his smile faltered just enough to make the room feel different. "Really?" he said, lightly but with a trace of tension. "You think so?" Kelly giggled, trying to keep it breezy. "I mean, I didn't say it, Twitter did. I guess we've both got that big emotional sound, huh?" Keith shifted in his chair, eyes narrowing slightly. "Yeah, or maybe we just both know how to write a hit," he replied, forcing a smile. A few chuckles rippled through the crowd, but Kelly noticed his tone. She tried to keep the vibe fun. "Oh, come on, I'm just teasing. I love the song. Really, it's got that classic Keith flavor." Keith leaned forward. "I've been writing songs my whole life, Kelly. I don't really need anyone thinking I'm borrowing from anybody else." The words hung in the air like static. The studio, once filled with laughter, now felt tight. Kelly blinked, her easy smile faltering. "Whoa, hey, I wasn't accusing you of anything," she said, her voice soft but firm. "It was a joke, dude." "I get jokes," Keith said sharply. "But when someone questions my originality, on national TV, it stops being funny." Kelly's jaw tightened. The audience could sense her irritation creeping in. "Keith, I wasn't questioning you. I was complimenting you, well, trying to." He gave a small, humorless laugh. "Didn't sound that way to me." For the first time that season, Kelly's usually effortless charisma wavered. Her tone dropped, cooler now. "Okay, maybe someone's having an off day. You wanna lighten up a little?" That did it. Keith's eyes flashed, and his voice rose. "Lighten up. I came here to talk about my music, not to be made fun of for it." The audience gasped. Producers shifted nervously behind the cameras, and Kelly's band exchanged uneasy glances. Still, Kelly held her ground, her southern charm giving way to steel. "I've been in this industry a long time, Keith," she said, her tone even but sharp. "If you can't handle a little humor, maybe live TV's not for you." A tense silence followed. Keith stared at her for a long second, jaw clenched. Then, slowly, he pushed back his chair. The sound of it scraping the studio floor sliced through the air. "You know what, Kelly?" he said, his voice tight with frustration. "I'm done. I didn't sign up for this." Kelly looked stunned. "Keith, wait, are you serious? We're live right now." But Keith was already standing, unclipping his mic. "Yeah, I'm serious. Good luck with your jokes." The audience gasped as he turned and strode toward the backstage curtain, the stage lights glinting off his leather jacket. Kelly stood frozen, then forced a nervous laugh. "Well, that's never happened before," she said, trying to play it off. But her voice trembled slightly, betraying her shock. Behind the curtain, Keith's team rushed toward him. "Keith, wait," his publicist hissed. "You can't just walk off." "I just did," he muttered, storming past them toward the exit. Back on stage, Kelly took a breath and faced the audience again. "Live television, y'all," she said with a faint, uneasy smile. "Sometimes things get real." The audience offered scattered applause, unsure if it was appropriate. The camera cut to commercial, but the damage was done. In the control room, producers were already arguing about whether to edit the segment out entirely. The clip would soon make its way online, where millions would analyze every glance, every inflection, every second of tension between two of music's most beloved stars. As Keith climbed into his car outside the studio, the echo of Kelly's words, "Lighten up," still rang in his head. He didn't know if he'd overreacted or if she'd crossed a line. All he knew was that something had cracked on that stage, and no amount of PR spin could make it disappear. The next morning, social media turned into a battlefield. Hashtags like #KeithUrban walks off and #Kelly vs Keith flooded every platform. Fans dissected every second of the footage, slowing down the moment Keith's smile faded and Kelly's expression hardened. Comment sections were split down the middle. Some accused Kelly of ambushing him for ratings, while others claimed Keith's ego had gotten the better of him. Memes, reaction videos, and armchair analyses spread like wildfire, transforming what was supposed to be a fun talk show appearance into one of the most talked about pop culture moments of the week. Kelly's producers scrambled to contain the fallout. Interns worked overtime replying to tweets with the show's official statement: "The Kelly Clarkson Show values creativity, passion, and respect. We wish Keith nothing but love and success." But the internet wasn't satisfied. People wanted drama, apologies, explanations, and preferably, a reconciliation caught on camera. Keith, meanwhile, was laying low in Nashville. His phone hadn't stopped buzzing since he'd walked off the set. He ignored most calls, but when his longtime manager finally reached him, the conversation was tense. "Keith, we've got to talk damage control," his manager urged. "People are saying you've got a temper problem. This could hurt the tour." Keith ran a hand through his hair and sighed. "I don't have a temper problem. I just don't like being laughed at." He paused, looking at the muted TV where the replay of his walk-off looped for the 100th time. "I thought Kelly got it. Guess I was wrong." But under the frustration, there was a twinge of guilt. He hadn't wanted to embarrass her, especially not live. Kelly had always been someone he respected, a powerhouse in her own right, who knew what it was like to be scrutinized. Maybe he had overreacted. Maybe the joke had just hit him on the wrong day. The following afternoon, Kelly addressed the incident head-on during her opening monologue. The studio was quieter than usual, the audience sensing the shift in tone. "Y'all saw what happened yesterday," she began, her voice steady but soft. "Keith and I go way back. He's one of the best in the business. What you saw wasn't planned, and it definitely wasn't how I wanted things to go." She took a breath, her expression earnest. "I was trying to joke around, but it didn't land. And when that happens, the only thing you can do is own it. I hope he knows there's no hard feelings." The crowd applauded, some even standing. Kelly smiled faintly, but her eyes betrayed how much the situation had weighed on her. Meanwhile, Keith finally broke his silence during a short backstage interview after a concert. "Look," he said, his tone measured, "I've got no issue with Kelly. I respect her, always have. I was just frustrated. When you pour your heart into a record, the last thing you want to hear is people saying you're copying someone else's sound." The clip went viral instantly. Fans began shifting from outrage to sympathy, recognizing that beneath the celebrity armor were two artists who'd simply had a bad moment in front of millions. By the end of the week, whispers of reconciliation began circulating. Kelly's team reportedly reached out privately to Keith's manager to smooth things over. Both camps denied rumors of a staged reunion, but fans kept pushing. "They need to perform together again," one tweet read. The tension would make the duet iconic. Days later, Keith appeared on another late-night show, where the host couldn't resist bringing it up. Keith laughed, shaking his head. "Man, you'd think I started a war or something. I love Kelly, always will. We just had a little artistic disagreement, I guess." His smile was genuine this time. "We're both passionate people. That's what makes good music, and sometimes, awkward TV." That line became the quote of the week. Even Kelly reposted it on Instagram with a laughing emoji and the caption, "We're both passionate people, y'all." Fans flooded the comments with hearts and guitar emojis, hoping it meant the air had finally cleared. 2 weeks later, Kelly surprised everyone during her Friday episode. The audience was buzzing when she said with a mischievous grin, "You know, life's too short for grudges. So Keith, if you're watching, come back anytime. But maybe next time, let's skip the talk and just jam." The audience exploded into applause. That night, Keith uploaded a short clip from his Nashville studio. Sitting on a stool with his guitar, he smiled into the camera. "Deal," he said, before strumming a playful riff that suspiciously echoed Kelly's hit Breakaway. The comment section went wild. Fans begged for a duet, joking that their next song should be called Walk It Off. Within days, streaming platforms saw spikes in both artists' music. Talk show ratings soared, and PR analysts called it a masterclass in turning controversy into connection. But behind all the headlines and hashtags, the truth was simpler. Two musicians, fiery and flawed, had collided in front of the world, and somehow, out of all that friction, they'd found a little more understanding. By the time Keith finally returned to Kelly's stage a month later, the tension had vanished. They laughed, hugged, and sang a stripped-down acoustic duet that left the audience on their feet. When the final note faded, Kelly turned to him and said, "Now that's the sound we both own." Keith grinned. "Amen to that," and just like that, what began as a storm ended with harmony, the kind only two artists who had truly clashed could create.